everybody to In the Now. Welcome back to me. I'm back from gray old England. It is so gray over there. I'm gonna say that. I've never seen so much grayness in my entire life. I was so happy when we came back to Toronto. I don't think you understand. The first thing I saw when I came back was sun. I was like, finally, you're home. You never really appreciate home until you're gone. Thank you, community, for being here again today. Thank you, viewers. Today on In the Now, we have a couple topics and we have a few of them, so I'm going to get through them today. But we have some information from home. We have some information from abroad. I also have some information from my trip to the UK, why Dave and I actually went. I want to big up my team here today. We have Jordan in the back producing. We have Dave as my side anchor, making sure I look good and make sure I get the information that I need.
Side anchor?
Yeah,
okay.
Side anchor. And of course, I have my research team behind me, Mrs. Frances Cisse. I appreciate you for helping me get the news to the viewers. So let's talk first. Let's stay home for a little bit. So I'm sure everyone remembers when the whole sex education idea came into play with Kathleen Wynne. So there's been a lot of controversy around it. There's been a lot of people who don't necessarily like it, a lot of religious groups who've actually pulled their children from school because of it. And now we have Mr. Doug Ford. He is back in the news and he is challenging the sex ed curriculum. Newly elected PC leader Doug Ford said he's going to scrap the sex education curriculum passed by Premier Kathleen Wynne's Liberals. I have a picture. I thought it was kind of cool of his face, because I feel like when he was saying it, he looked like this. No? Yes? You have a picture for me? Anyhow, he stated, we will repeal it, and then we will repeal it. Yeah, that's it. Look at his face. Doesn't look like he's saying we're going against your sex education program, Kathleen Wynne. So he stated we are going to repeal it and then we'll make sure we consult with the parents and teachers. Ford told reporters, building on a promise he made during the leadership race to review all areas of the curriculum, including sex ed and math. We have to make sure we tweak a few things in there and then we'll move forward, he says. Although he plans to alter the curriculum, Ford also reported on Monday, March 12th, that the sex ed curriculum would not be a main priority if the Tories win the June 7th election. So it's kind of interesting. He's almost using that, I'm going to help, repeal this sex ed and change it. Like, that's his, platform, it almost seems like. But then it's like, in the next breath, he's like, it's not going to be the major thing we're talking about. So again, you've got to be careful with politicians, right, and what they say. People, be mindful, guys, again, of what the information you take in. That's what In the Now's about, is to filter through some of this, okay? He states, the focus is going to be on straightening out the finances of this province, noting Ontario's $312 billion debt. How did we get $312 billion in debt with the prices that they're charging us for things out here? We're going to reduce hydro rates and start attracting great paying jobs and business. Again, I don't know how we got to $312 billion, not even million, billion dollars in debt. Apparently we are. So let's go back to the updated sex curriculum that he wants to, he said, repeal. And the updated sex ed curriculum was put into effect by the Liberals in 2015, despite objections from many religious groups who claimed it didn't align with their values, and parents who said that the government didn't make them enough or a part enough of this process, right? I can understand parents saying that. Every parent dreads that birds and the bees conversation that they have to have, but it's something that they kind of want to control, So I have a video, and I'm going to give credits to the National, just to kind of look at what some people are saying about the sex ed curriculum. We'll be right back.
Hopes to change that. Quebec's education minister says all students should have sex ed in school, no exceptions. We say no! But in Ontario, efforts to update sex education have been met with protest. Some parents say the curriculum isn't age appropriate and doesn't reflect their religious values. Today, that province released this video to try to win over the critics.
Our kids have questions,
Teachers and principals have been watching that debate in Ontario carefully, and they say the same issues could come up here in Quebec. The union representing some of Quebec's teachers says not all parents think school is the place to teach about things like same-sex couples and masturbation.
In our schools, we have lots of people that were not born here, so all the diversity, cultural, but also religious diversities.
The pilot program is starting now in 15 schools with plans to go province-wide in 2017. The Association of Principals worries that's not enough time to train staff and get resources in place.
Teachers are not professional in that matters of thing. We will probably need a nurse, so we'll need people from the community.
Victoria Pilger agrees cultural sensitivity is important, but she backs the government's plan for mandatory sex ed, saying all kids have an urgent need to be informed. Tanya Birkbeck, CBC News, Montreal.
So, of course, Kathleen Wynne defended this updated curriculum she helped put forth. When accused of not giving parents enough input, she responded by saying, parents were consulted. Psychologists, psychiatrists, police, people who live in committees or communities and are concerned about the safety of young people were consulted. I don't know. You know what? Maybe if there's someone out there, you can tell me if you were part of this consultation. I don't know. Did she go into the Muslim families and speak to them about this? Did she have that? When she was consulted, who did she consult? Was it people that obviously was going to go with her idea, or did she really get a collective, objective thought on this, right? So Kathleen Wynne also, again, picked a picture that I just thought was suiting. I'm so wicked. I'm sorry. That's a face you make when you're trying to defend your things, okay? That's the face. So the way the curriculum was developed was not by politicians, she said. It was developed by people who are educators and who understand child development and who understand what's appropriate. Now, again, whose idea of appropriate? There's so many different ideas, so many different cultures and religions. Who said the people that you consulted can speak for everybody? Supporters say the updated guidelines brought Ontario in line with the rest of Canada, as well as several jurisdictions in the United States. Who cares about what's happening in the United States? I don't care if their education is not even close to ours, so I don't know why we're trying to compare. Like that's supposed to make us feel better. But opponents argue the curriculum, which teaches students about concepts including gender identity, which is probably one of the biggest ones, sexual orientation and masturbation, that do not align with their values or they think is appropriate for their children. So Ford's stance comes from it comes after social conservatives inside the party accused former leader Patrick Brown of flip-flopping on the sex ed issue. The new Tory leader has also said he's focused on straightening out the province's finances and has criticized the Liberals for Ontario's heavy debt. So again, it started, right? Elections are around the corner, so you're going to start hearing a lot of things. And again, I say to viewers and anyone who's watching the news, just be mindful of the information you take in. Don't just jump on a bandwagon because everybody likes somebody. Weigh your options and realize you have to make decisions that are not only good for you, but are good for your family and good for the community on a whole, okay? So understand everyone's going to have a pitch. Everyone's going to say they're going to do things for you. But really start looking at people's background. What have they done for you up until this point? If they haven't done anything, why do they have to get your vote, okay? Now, regardless, they've said that the curriculum needs to be updated. The previous curriculum dated from 1998 and did not include any mention of some of the current issues that students face, such as sexting and cyberbullying. So first of all, who's sexting in what? Okay, I guess that it might be happening, but okay, you know what? Maybe we do need to catch up. Maybe I need to catch up. I don't understand why sexting would be an issue. Like, why are there cell phones in the classroom that people are sexting in school anyways? Or they just talk about in general, right? I guess our kids are sexting now? That's kind of scary, but it might be happening. Does there need to be an update? Yes. Do I think that the schools need to be involved? Yeah. Do I think that parents need to be equally involved? Of course. To really say I have an opinion on this, I would just say, you know what? Everyone's needs need to be considered in this. And that means newcomers who are living in here, of course, we are a multicultural country, and we've got to respect the rights of other people. Once they're Canadian, right? And you have to understand, you can't just make a decision for a group, a country, because maybe 10% of you who you consulted agreed with you, okay? So when we come back, we're gonna move away from Toronto, and we're gonna go to jolly old England, where I spent a cold and gray week. We'll see you guys soon.
No one wants to live outside the box. We play it safe. But if you had told me all those years ago that I'd go on to win Juno Awards and Much Music Awards, I would have laughed.
All right, stay with me, here we go. Hands up! Reach for the sky. Come on! And hold your head up high was tonight. And every night you're what?
To be distinct, you must be different. So I'm going to tell you this. Love Inc.'s You're a Superstar went on to explode onto the Canadian dance scene. Not only was it a hit in Canada, it was a hit internationally. Top 5 in the UK, across Europe and into Australia. Our music was everywhere. Radio, TV, video, fashion, television. I was on tour across Canada, branching into the US and Europe. Our music was everywhere. Our video was everywhere.
Welcome back, guys, to In the Now. If you are just joining us, we are going all over the globe today. And we started off in Toronto, talking about the sex ed. And now we're going to hit on one of the reasons why I wasn't here last week. So Dave and I and the Toronto Caribbean group, my TCN, TV, we were invited to the Amadiyya Muslims community 15th National Peace Symposium. So I'm going to be reporting more on this. Obviously, I'll be doing some articles in the Toronto Caribbean, so do look out for that as well in the next month or so. I'm going to be writing on it consistently because there's a lot of information. But today, I just wanted to come and report on it and let you guys know what I've experienced, what's going on, because again, like sometimes you never know what's going on outside of your little peripheral, and you have to sometimes, because there are some things being done in this world that are unnecessary. And one thing I've realized is humans are humans. We've got to care for each other. We've got to take care of each other. And that was one of the largest take-home messages, is just community and peace. So let me give you some background on who the Amadiyya Muslims are. Now, on March 19th, the world head of the Amadiyya Muslim community, the fifth Khalifa, His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, delivered the keynote address at the 15th National Peace Symposium hosted by the Amadiyya Muslim Community UK. So I have a couple pictures. The first one is with His Holiness when he came to Toronto. He actually took a picture with Justin. Wow, I just aged myself. Justin Trudeau. And I have another one with him, and that one was actually from www.rabwa.net. And my next picture of the Khalifa is from the Muslim Times, founded in 1889 with over tens of millions of members in 210 countries. The Amadiyya Muslim community is a fast-growing international revival movement within Islam, with a central spiritual leader known as the Khalifa of Islam. So in September 1974, under the government of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, the Second Amendment was made to the 1973 Constitution of Pakistan. I also have a picture of him. I'm giving some history because there needs to be an understanding of what's happening within this community. Now, the picture is courtesy of Travel and Culture, and in his address, he stated, "A person who does not believe in the absolute and unqualified finality of the prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him, the last of the prophets, or claims to be a prophet, in any sense of the word or of any description whatsoever after Muhammad, peace be upon him, or recognizes such a claimant as a prophet or a religious reformer is not Muslim for the purpose of the constitution of law. I don't think anyone can really understand and grasp the severity of what this man said. That sealed the fate of the Ahmadiyyas in Pakistan. The exclusion of a community of almost 4 million Pakistanis, as per a 2016 report, who referred to themselves as Amadiyya Muslims and were slurred as Qadiani or Mirza, escalated. So ever since this decree was made, basically they've been told that they can't be Muslim. You're not allowed to be Muslim. And I'm going to give you more history on that. The snowballing effect of the Second Amendment took in its wake lives of countless Ahmadiyyas. Persecution, isolation, ban on prayer, exile, and even death, just for saying you were Ahmadiyyan Muslim. There is a black stain, of course, on the social and religious fabric of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, a country that prides itself on its Islamic beliefs while existing in direct rejection to some of Islam's most important injunctions. So this is a country saying that they are strong in their faith, but they're going against some of the very teachings that Islam have about peace and love. So let's take a quick look at what's happening to the Ahmadiyya Muslims in Pakistan. I wanted to share this video with you so you can kind of have a little bit more depth coming from their perspective.
Injured. So what is the basic bone of contention? The basic bone of contention is this. It all started with minor changes to what's called the Khatm-e Nabuwat, or the finality of the prophethood clause, in which in every election form, instead of the phrasing, I swear by, it was changed to I believe in the finality of Prophet Muhammad. Now, immediately this caused an uproar amongst lawmakers, amongst the political fraternity in Pakistan. The National Assembly Speaker even sent the bill back hurriedly. It was attributed to some kind of clerical error. But that was only one part of this contentious clause. The second part of the clause, which is even more contentious, asks any person who's wishing to hold public office in Pakistan to denounce the Ahmadiyyas as non-Muslims. So who are the Ahmadiyyas? The Ahmadiyyas are non-citizens. They cannot hold political office. I mean, even to obtain a passport in Pakistan, you have to denounce the Ahmadiyyas as non-Muslims. And over the years, denouncing the Ahmadiyyas has become synonymous with showing faith in Islamic law and showing commitment, particularly to the blasphemy law in Pakistan. The Ahmadiyyas are followers of the 19th century Sufi mystic Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. They're a 10 million strong community, not just in Pakistan, but in other parts of the world as well. The first big riots that involves the Ahmadiyyas happens in Pakistan in 1953. The army is called into Lahore and to quell the situation. In 1973, Pakistan adopts its new constitution, whereby Pakistan becomes an Islamic state and religion becomes a matter of the state. In 1974, when a train to Peshawar, which had students of the Jamaat-e-Islami, one of the largest religious parties in Pakistan, those students got into a riot with Ahmadiyyas. There was violence in one of the train stations, and as a consequence of that, there were riots in different cities across Pakistan.
So from that video, you guys can see, it's written into the Constitution that you cannot call yourself something, and if you do, you can't get a passport. You could be murdered. It's incredible what we've learned about what's happening in the world, and sometimes in the sake of religion, because of religion. So the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is the only Islamic organization to believe that the long-awaited Messiah has come in the person of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, peace be upon him. And he was alive from 1835 to 1908. Now, there is a picture of him. Thank you, Jordan. So this is the picture that you will find. We saw this, everyone, when we visited Peace Village here in Toronto, up in Maple. They had this picture up, and we also was up at the mosque in England. So this is someone who is honored and respected by them. And he is one of the reasons why there is now so much turmoil within the Islamic faith between the Ahmadiyyas and, of course, most definitely happening in Pakistan. That's where it's happening the most, is in Pakistan. So they believe that God sent Ahmed, like Jesus, to end religious wars, condemn bloodshed, and reinstitute morality, justice, and peace, rejecting terrorism in any form. As part of its efforts to revise Islam, the Amadiyya Muslim community continues to spread his word. Teachings of moderation and restraint in the face of bitter opposition from parts of the Muslim world. So I want to show you the mosque where we actually attended the symposium. This is actually the largest mosque in Western Europe. I have a couple pictures of it. This is the outside of it at sunrise, I believe. They had an audience of about 900 people from 31 different countries, including 570 non-Ahmadiyya guests, including Dave and I. Some ministers were there, mayors were there, ambassadors of states, members of parliament, and various other dignitaries and guests. So I have a snippet. I think it might be a little bit too long to play right now. But when I do come back, did you get to show the inside? Did I just miss all that? You showed the inside too, eh? Okay, I did miss all that. But you guys saw it, which is nice. So when we come back, I'm going to play a small video, which actually we were able to capture some of the keynote speech from His Holiness. And during his address, His Holiness mentioned that the Amadiyya Muslim community would never cease its efforts to spread peace in the world. He urged world leaders and governments to change their priorities and to help ease the suffering of people in developing countries. He condemned the international arms trade and said that those nations who were producing weapons being used in war-torn countries had blood on their hands. So this is a man who, the basis of this convention was peace. I know a lot of people, and he even says they have this jaded view of Islam, and they usually link Islam to terrorism, when in this case, it's not necessarily true. When we come back, we'll show a little clip of his address, and we'll see you soon on In the Now.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everybody. If you're just joining us on In the Now, we've been in Toronto. We're speaking about the sex education curriculum that Mr. Doug Ford is saying he's going to amend. So we'll see what's happening there. That's in the very first segment if you're joining us. And the second segment, we started talking about why I wasn't here last week. Dave and I went away to the UK. We were in Gatwick, London, and we were at the 15th year of the National Peace Symposium. And we were there with the Amadiyya Muslim community. Again, I'll be sharing more of this in writing, so you can be following this alongside this video to learn some more. So before I left, I said I was going to introduce a video, so I'm going to do that right now. I have a couple for you. Again, so if you are tuning in, you'll be able to see it. If you're elsewhere, like on my Facebook page, I'm streaming it live as well. You can go to the MyTCN to see that, okay? So enjoy this video, and I'll be back with some more information for you guys.
Thank you. At the event this evening, we have attendees from 27 countries around the world, as well as representatives of various diplomatic posts in the UK. And I would like to just pay acknowledgement to those embassies that are represented this evening from Honduras, Kosovo, Sri Lanka, Iraq, India, the United States of America, Canada, Japan, and Pakistan. And on the second page of the list, I also overlooked to mention and acknowledge the presence of a couple of dear friends of ours, the Right Honourable Justine Greening MP, former Secretary of State for Education, Stephen Alambritis, who's the leader of Merton Council, and Max Hill, who is the independent reviewer of counter-terrorism legislation.
So some things that he noted as well in this address, which I think was very powerful, and what I most respected about His Holiness is he had this very calm delivery, and yet as calm as he was and as peaceful as he was, his message was very powerful. He also spoke about children born into extreme poverty or in areas of conflict where easy and vulnerable targets were there for terrorist recruits. So these things are happening. They are happening, but it's not coming from he doesn't want the Islamic faith to be tainted by a few bad apples, right? So speaking about the continued efforts of the Amadiyya Muslim community to spread peace and to promote mutual respect and tolerance, His Holiness said, "Our faith demands us to try and urge people in all parts of the world, whether rich or poor, whether powerful or oppressed, whether religious or irreligious, towards peace and justice." So I do have one more video, compliments from the symposium of Meta Online. And this, I believe, is where we actually have the Ahmadiyya speaking a little bit. So please enjoy his address.
We now have the keynote address for the evening, and it gives me great honor to invite His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad to deliver the keynote address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the gracious, ever merciful. All distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace and blessing of Allah be upon you all. First of all, I would like to thank all of our guests for joining us here at our annual Peace Symposium. For the past 15 years, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community has been organizing and hosting this peace symposium for the sake of promoting world peace. Perhaps some of you may question the benefit of us organizing this event each year, given that the peace of the world, both in Muslim countries and elsewhere, has not improved at all during this time. Rather, it has deteriorated. Much of the world has been gripped by increasing division, hate, and injustice. Society has become polarized, wars have taken place, nations have threatened one another, and inequality has intensified in both the developing and the developed world. Given the situation, your question is quite valid. However, our faith demands us to try to urge all people in all parts of the world, whether rich or poor, whether powerful or oppressed, whether religious or irreligious, towards peace and justice.
So I'm going to give you a little bit more info. As you can see, this man's demeanor, again, I wish you could hear his whole address. You can actually find his whole address online if you are interested in hearing what this man has to say. His Holiness his keynote was excellent. I sat there, took notes. Again, you'll be seeing more of what he did say in the next couple weeks, because I will be writing about it, okay? So let's see. Currently, the headquarters is in UK. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community has built over 16,000 mosques, over 500 schools, and over 30 hospitals. And I want to explain something. When they say they've done this, this is volunteers. People are not getting paid to do this. This is all volunteer. We saw this when we were there, and I'm going to share this. I was jealous, and I've come back with a renewed faith in people working together, because they were, it was so structured. It was like a system. Everyone knew their roles, their duty, and then things just flowed. So they've been able to really build this community. Again, they're doing these things, building mosques and schools all over the world. So today continues to be an advocate for universal human rights and protections for religions and other minorities. Some of the things that are still happening, though, and most of this again is happening in Pakistan. A recent judgment by the Islamabad High Court, the IHC, directing the government to adopt stricter measures in letting people declare their religion at the time of accepting government jobs and getting official identity documents. And this paves the way for religious prosecution at the state level and more intolerance in society. So when they actually they ask, we're here in Canada, you can't really ask someone that type of stuff. Like, you can't really, what religion are you on a job application? You can't do that. It's in their constitution. You have to declare your religion. There's a reason they started doing that. The judgment urges the state to take steps against a particular minority group that is using the name of Islam. And obviously they're speaking about the Ahmadiyyas, okay? It directs the government to make necessary legislation and also introduce requisite amendments to the existing laws to ensure that all the terms specifically used for Islam and Muslims were not used by persons belonging to any minority, faith, or hiding their real identity. So I have an actual declaring the faith affidavit. I actually put it up for you guys to see it, where the declaring the faith affidavit, compulsory, this is compulsory, okay? The judgment reads, this is the next picture, the next thumbs, yeah, thank you. Nobody should be permitted to conceal his or her religious faith, and for getting CNIC, passport, birth certificate, entry into voters list, appointment in judiciary, armed forces, civil services, anything like that, you have to declare your faith, okay? Okay. The Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, this is picture number 10. The Human Rights Commission of Pakistan has also condemned this IHC judgment, urging the federal government to file an appeal against it. And in a written statement, they said, forums for justice such as the Honorable IHC should play their due role in safeguarding the fundamental rights of the most vulnerable sections of society. It is therefore unfortunate that Pakistan's religious minorities should feel more unsafe as a result of a ruling by the Honorable Court. So, and you know what? That might have been my fault. I didn't put it up. What I will do is I'll provide that information for you guys. I do have reference links for it, so I will provide that for you. I probably did not send it, and I should have. He also observed the following. In September 1974 legislation, the Second Amendment declaring Ahmadiyyas as non-Muslim, there was a need to take more measures to force them to declare their religious identity rather than just posing themselves as to them, which was the majority Muslim. In Pakistan, religious minorities and different minority Islamic sects face different types of social and legal discriminations and faith-based prosecution. So I have a lot of information on this, and it's way too much to share right now. But I will say this, being with this community has taught me a lot. It's unnecessary, and it's unfortunate that people are being condemned for their faith. Again, complete human rights issue. I'm not too sure when and how people are going to step in to do this, but something does need to be done. But this is why these peace symposiums happen. They want to show the world what is happening. And you know what? We need to help. We need to be a part of this. You don't have to be Muslim to be a part of it. You've got to understand, again, humans are humans regardless of your religious, your race, your creed, your culture. Something that we need to look into. When we come back, I'll have some more information for you on In the Now. Welcome back, everyone, to In the Now. If you are just joining us, I've just returned from jolly old England, and I came back with wonderful news. I just spent the last two segments talking about some of my experiences and what I've experienced with the Amadiyya Muslim community, and I will again be writing more about it, and I'll be providing some links. So for those who are interested in even like lending a hand or learning more about their trials and tribulations, the persecution that they are going through in Pakistan, you can do that. But now I'm going to move on to a little bit of a fun part of this. And the best thing about this part is that we're going to learn something again, okay? So let's talk about Sheila Minor Huff. Who is this? So this mystery lady began with a photo. And I'm going to show you the first one. I want you guys, for me, find what looks different in this picture. See, I want to see if you can find Sheila. She's in this picture. Can you find Sheila? Let's go a little bit closer. Give you another chance. Okay, can anyone see Sheila? All right, I'm gonna find Sheila for you. It's like finding Sheila. Remember Where's Waldo? This is Where's Sheila. This is my version of it. Let's find Sheila. Let's finally find her, cause she's there. There she is, Miss Sheila. This is such an incredible story, and I'm really glad I'm able to bring this to you today. The mystery lady began with a photo of 38 eminent scientists and a question. Why did the caption name all of the men, but not this young black woman? Who was she, and why was she kept so hidden? So last week, hundreds of people were engaged in a search for a woman named Sheila. Candace Jean Anderson wanted to write a picture book about the U.S. Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972. So she asked the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration for some information. It said they sent her an article, and then they sent her obviously pictures. And while she was looking for this, she found this picture and was like, well, who's that? Right? So of course she started to reach out to media and figure out who is this person. So the thread, she put it out on Twitter, of course. You know, once something hits Twitter, it's all over. It's social media. The thread caught the attention of Margaret Lee Shetterly, the author of the book Hidden Figures. And if anyone hasn't watched Hidden Figures, it's a really great movie. It's a 2016 film about the black women who worked as mathematicians at NASA during the space race. So that's when everyone was trying to get to space first, and they lost against Russia. Picture. Let's show Mrs. Sheila Minor Huff, who that's how she calls herself now. Anderson said the men were named in the caption, but the women were not. My curiosity nagged at me, not knowing who the woman in the photo was, or perhaps what she may have contributed to the conference. So this is actually a newer picture. There's an older picture of her that's there. This was back when she did work for them. There it is. Yes. So Dee Allen, the research program officer at the Marine Mammal Commission, saw the photograph on Twitter and contacted some of her own mentors. So it finally came out that a gentleman, I believe his name was Don Wilson. He was a curator of mammals at the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. And he told Allen that the woman had worked as a museum technician and her name was Sheila. So what I liked about this story again is when they finally did track her down, she was so humble. And I think we'll go back to that last picture of her. This is how Miss Sheila Minor Huff looks now. And this picture is courtesy of the Hamilton Spectator. She said that she was not too bothered about being unnamed in the 1971 snapshot. It's kind of like no big deal. And these were her words. She said, when I try to do good, when I try and add back to this wonderful earth that we have, when I try to protect it, doesn't matter that anybody knows my name. What a humble, humble thought from such an amazing woman. And she did a lot. She actually retired at 58, and she had become a GS-14 federal employee, which is one of the highest designations possible at the Department of the Interior. So, Miss Sheila, hats off to you. Thank you for your service. You need to be honored. I know you don't think you do, but we found you. This is, again, another hidden figure brought to light. So here's another good, a feel-good moment for us. This is interesting. So we do have a small video. We'll play it. I decided to play it. A small video, and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
From Sports News now, 40-year-old Bayo Day Olawumi on Saturday set a new Guinness record for the longest reading marathon after reading 24 books in 5 days and 2 hours. Jokeli Jadu has that story.
How did those two
Bayode's journey into stardom commenced at 1:30 p.m. on the 26th of February 2018 when he set out to beat the Read Aloud marathon record, which stood at 113 hours. For 5 days, Bayode read out aloud to a small crowd, his tenacity and determination growing hour after hour.
I knew of your Savior and his undying view. Around midnight, the girl got up from.
By 3:30 p.m. Saturday, 3rd March, Bayode set a new Guinness World Record for the longest reading marathon, read aloud at 122 hours. The excited crowd counted down excitedly as Bayode set the new mark.
I'm very proud of this young man. It's impressive to see young people who are doing things to better. He actually did this to motivate and inspire younger people to do more reading. We have people out here trying to make names for themselves for things that, you know what, are not serving our community. He did something to serving community. So again, throw a picture of him, Mr. Bayode Treasures Aluunimi. And I know I probably didn't say it right. I do apologize. We commend you here at MyTCN TV. I'm going to get in contact with you and find out exactly how we can talk about this. 'Cause 120 hours logged in reading is a lot of time, but good for you. The last story is kind of sad. It's like an environmental story. It made me sad. So Sudan's last white rhino dies, and it's my very last picture of him. And I love this picture because I love how he's being guarded, okay? The world's last male northern white rhino has died. The Kenyan thank you, Jordan, was taking care of it, leaving only 2 females, which happened to be Sudan, that's his name, Sudan's daughters. So what they're hoping to do, because they did have to put him down because they were starting to see that he was just getting old. So his daughters are 27-year-old. Her name is Najin, and they have a 70-year-old granddaughter named Fatu. So what they're hoping to do is somehow use in vitro fertilization, because I'm sure they got some of his sperm, and they're going to try to create more. But it's a very sad loss to Sudan because it shows clearly the extent of human greed and what sort of impact human beings can have on nature. Guys, I hope I was able to bring you a plethora of information. I love that word, plethora. Please, again, subscribe, like, and share if you think this information is necessary for somebody. I'm sure you guys can find. We will include links later for you guys. Have a wonderful Friday. Thank God it's Friday. And I will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful day.